Yesterday, Microsoft added more value in a single day than most countries make in a year. One trading session, a 15% jump, hundreds of billions of dollars added to a company that's already worth more than the entire economy of the United Kingdom. Now here's the part that should stop you. 50 years ago, the two people who built this company didn't own a single computer. They called a manufacturer in New Mexico and claimed they'd written working software for a machine they had never touched. It didn't exist yet, not one line of it. And somehow, that lie became a $3.3 trillion empire. So, how does a bluff turn into the most valuable software company on Earth? Stick with me, because the real story is stranger than the headline. And it starts with a magazine, a phone call, and two guys who had absolutely nothing to lose. Let's go back, way back, before Azure, before Windows, before anyone had heard the name Microsoft. It's late 1974. A 20-year-old named Paul Allen is walking through Harvard Square. He picks up a magazine, Popular Electronics, and on the cover, something that would change everything. The Altair 8800. One of the first personal computers ever built. No screen, no keyboard, just switches and blinking lights. To most people, it looked like a toy. To Allen, it looked like the future. He didn't even finish reading the article. He grabbed the magazine and ran straight across campus, through the snow, to find his friend, a Harvard sophomore named Bill Gates. They both saw the same thing immediately. This tiny machine needed software. Somebody had to write programming languages for it. And right now, nobody had. So they picked up the phone. They called Ed Roberts, the man who built the Altair, and told him something that wasn't true. They said they had already built a working version of BASIC, a popular programming language, for his machine. They hadn't. They didn't own an Altair. They'd never even seen one in person. There was no code. Not a single line of it existed. Roberts believed him, and he gave them 8 weeks to prove it. Gates dropped out of Harvard. Allen quit his job. For 2 months, they barely slept, writing code on a machine that simulated the Altair, because the real thing didn't exist yet. Not for them, anyway. Picture that for a second. No safety net, no funding, no company, technically, not yet. Just two guys, a rented timeshare computer, and a deadline that didn't care whether they were ready. If it didn't work, there was no fallback plan. There was no Microsoft to fall back on, because Microsoft was the thing they were trying to build in the first place. Then came the moment that almost ended everything before it began. Paul Allen boards a flight to Albuquerque, carrying a paper tape with the code they'd written. This is his first time ever touching a real Altair. And somewhere over the clouds, he realizes something horrifying. They forgot the bootstrap loader. Without it, the computer has no way to even read the tape. Years of ambition, on the verge of collapsing over one missing piece of code. So Allen does something almost unthinkable. He pulls out a notepad and starts writing machine code by hand, in the air, with no computer in front of him. Just numbers, memory, and a deadline he could not miss. He lands. He walks into MIT's headquarters. He loads the tape. And on the very first try, it works. Let that sink in for a second. An entire company, an entire industry, balanced on a few lines of code written on an airplane. If that program had failed, you might never have heard the name Microsoft at all. MITs agreed to distribute their software, and Microsoft, with a hyphen back then, was born. What do you think? Was that genius, or just an incredible gamble that happened to pay off? Either way, the real masterstroke was still 5 years away. By 1980, Microsoft was still small, a software shop, nothing more. But IBM, the biggest name in computing, was secretly building something new, a personal computer for regular people. And they needed an operating system, fast. Microsoft didn't have one ready, so Gates did what he always did. He found a shortcut. A local developer named Tim Patterson had built something called Kudos, the quick and dirty operating system. Gates bought it for $50,000. He renamed it MS-DOS, licensed it to IBM. And here's the detail almost nobody talks about, the one decision that built an empire. Gates didn't sell IBM exclusive rights. He kept the license open. IBM thought the money was in the hardware, in the machines themselves. Gates understood something they didn't. The software was the real prize. Because MS-DOS wasn't just on IBM computers. It was on Compaqs, on Dells, on every PC clone that copied IBM's design. Microsoft wasn't selling to one company anymore. It was quietly becoming the operating system for the entire industry. One unassuming decision, and it changed the shape of modern computing. Here's why that mattered so much. In the hardware business, you build a machine once, sell it once, and then you're racing your competitors to build the next one, cheaper and faster than they can. But software is different. You write it once, and you can sell it again and again and again to every single company that wants to build a computer. IBM was playing the old game. Gates was already playing the new one. Think about what's sitting in front of you right now. Your laptop, maybe your work computer. There's a decent chance the operating system underneath it traces back to that one contract from 1980. In 1986, Microsoft went public at $21 a share. If you'd put $1,000 into that stock and simply held it, adjusted for splits, it would be worth tens of millions today. Not because you got lucky picking one stock, because you happened to trust a company that kept reinventing itself, decade after decade, long after everyone assumed its best years were behind it. For decades after that IPO, Microsoft ruled the desktop. Windows, Office, the default software running on nearly every desk in the working world. The program you probably typed your first resume in, whether you realized it was Microsoft or not. Then, under a new CEO named Satya Nadella, the company reinvented itself again, not around desktops this time, but around the cloud. And now, artificial intelligence, Azure, Copilot, tools quietly running behind the scenes of businesses everywhere. Which brings us back to yesterday, that 15% surge, over $100 billion in yearly cloud revenue, a market value past $3.3 trillion. It's easy to look at a number like that and think it was inevitable, that a company this big was always going to win. But it started with two young men, a magazine on a newsstand, and a phone call built on a lie they hadn't earned yet. Maybe that's the real lesson. Not the money, not the trillion-dollar number, is a story people tell afterward. In the moment, it was just a notepad, an airplane, and a tape that had to work on the first try. Every massive company you can think of, sitting there today with its market cap ticking upward on a screen, started out this small, this uncertain, this close to not happening at all. Somewhere out there, right now, somebody is making a phone call they haven't quite earned yet, making a promise about something that doesn't exist, betting on a version of themselves that hasn't shown up yet. Most of those calls go nowhere, but every once in a while, one of them becomes the next Microsoft. If you found this story worth your time, consider subscribing. There are more stories like this one. Quiet decisions that ended up shaping the world we live in now.